Hello and welcome to the Gen Z Journey with myself, Rio Penn-Grice.
And myself, Joe Rodrigues.
And we're brought to you in association with Culinary Group Solutions.
And we make restaurants and food services successful by design.
So join me on this journey as we learn about the lifestyle of entrepreneurship. So hello and welcome to another Gen Z Journey podcast. Today we've got a very special guest in Jedidiah Collins. And I like to always say at the start of podcasts is that we try and do these interview podcasts to really let our audience get to know who our guest is, get to know their background, their influences and their experiences, both in business and then just personally on their journey. So that's what we're going to do today. I'll get Jedidiah to introduce himself a little bit now.
Well, first off, fellas, really appreciate you having me on. As we've kind of connected, how highly I think of what you're doing, the platform. So I just appreciate the opportunity. As you said, Jedidiah Collins, I have an interesting story. One thing people wouldn't describe me as, but I've always considered myself as a great failure. And that often has a negative connotation to it. But to me, it means that I've learned from a lot of mistakes. I've overcome a lot of things. But in the end, I've continued to progress and not seen failure as final or as something that was going to stop me. So as you appreciate the entrepreneurial Gen Z journey, a great failure mindset is a great one to have. But I went from Washington State, Cougs, always got to say go Cougs, and played in the Pac-12, was the Pac-10. And then I got to chase my dream, go to the National Football League for 7 seasons where I got cut a dozen times, speaking into the great failure part. And while I was in there, I woke up to the reality of the NFL dream, the professional athlete dream being broken. And so it drove me to pursuing my financial education. I was actually studying for my certification in financial planning, the CFP, each offseason of my NFL experience. And for the last 5 years, I've been working in wealth management and recently jumped and started my entrepreneurial dream and vision to empower people to own their financial future. So I wrote a book, started a podcast, and now I'm just spreading the message of what I hope people will see is this new necessary skill for survival in our world.
Amazing. And I think just in that short first 2 minutes, you can see why we're so excited to have you on, Jedidiah. It's going to be an awesome podcast. And you touched on it a little bit there, and I want to first dig straight into that is what do you define as entrepreneurship and what does it mean to you?
I think the greatest definition I've ever heard is the pursuit of an opportunity beyond your current resources. As you look at any entrepreneurial dream, it's, man, I think I can go do this thing. I don't have all the ducks in an order right now. Right now, I'm definitely building the plane as, I've taken off. I'm in midair now, and I'm building it as I continue. But my definition of entrepreneur is somebody who has a consistent stream and reliable stream of business. That kind of defines it differently than freelancer. And then somebody who is going to be working in and also working on their business. A lot of people's definition is, I work for myself or, I control my hours. I see really any career, any job. I think you should be the CEO mindset of your own career. So that shouldn't shift. That has always been my case, no matter who I worked for, is I am the CEO of my own business. So for me, an entrepreneur means I am exploring and chasing a vision and a dream beyond what would currently be a well thought out strategy for, let's say, a high level executive.
That's awesome. I was just going to ask a little bit of a follow-up with the idea that you've always been a CEO of your entire career. How has that kind of played in your desire to become a wealth manager, and why did you choose that career based on that ideal?
Great question. Well, it began as I was a rookie in the NFL, and I actually watched the starting running back, starting quarterback have a conversation while the running back was holding out, was in contract negotiations. And me being the fullback, my locker was next to him. So I witnessed their discussion. And then afterwards, they kind of held up their hands and dapped each other and said CEOs. So I leaned over and I asked, I was like, what was the CEOs thing about? And he said, man, that's how he approaches his business, his career is we all play for this name on the side of our helmet, but we have to be responsible for the name on our back. And he was holding out and negotiating a contract because he felt he had the leverage, but also he felt it was the correct business decision for him at the time. And so what that taught me was, one, I was entering professional sports and it was a business. There was, millions and millions of dollars, of course, but everything I did was going to be related to my brand, and my brand represented who I was as a company. And so when you start to identify it in that light, really we all have a brand. With social media today, if you send out a post, that brand is now connected to your career, and you are now representing something beyond just you and your friends. Your brand identifies what you want your business to reflect. And I take particular interest in people's names, because when you see your name, you should be confident. When those who know you see your name, they should see trust. And those who don't know you should learn your name because you're adding value. And so I kind of connect a lot of those mindsets and thoughts. Why it directed me towards money was I came to realize as a business, I was starting to make money. NFL, there's some pretty good sized checks. It was really neat. But the reality was my first check came and went as everybody's does in the business. And I woke up a night or two after that realizing I had spent the entirety of my first paycheck really before it even like landed and settled into my account. And I knew if I was going to be a fullback, a no-name player, and survive and try to make this dream, I knew I was never going to be able to achieve that having a relationship with money that was make money, spend money, make money, spend money. And so, I mean, full disclosure, I bought an engagement ring. My wife and I are still married, so it turned out to be cute. But the reality was that was very poor financial management. So from there, that's where like my journey started to shift. And I went down to Barnes and Noble and I picked up personal finance books, and I got introduced to the idea of saving. I got introduced to the mindset of an investor. And that's where my journey to want to be a wealth manager, but now my journey to be a financial empowerer really started. Was, why didn't I know this? I mean, I was an accounting major in college. So you give me XYZ company and 100,000 widgets, we could do some statements, but nobody ever told me what the Johnson family should do with a $75,000 income or what they were going to pay in taxes. So I started to want to learn more for my personal side out of fear that I wasn't going to have anything to show. But then in reality, I started to really enjoy and be passionate about teaching others and getting out there and saying, listen, this money thing is not the scariest thing in the world. It's just a language you've never been taught. Here's a class, here's a book, here's an analogy that will help you understand this money game.
Definitely. And something that strikes me very much, Jedidiah, is as you're speaking about it, is, and you're talking about the whole CEO and your business and your brand, is that you very much relate that entrepreneurship or business side of things is very much just related to your life and your lifestyle and the way in which you live. So would you kind of say that entrepreneurship side of things and going into business in this way is very much a lifestyle?
It has absolutely become a lifestyle. And, it is a mindset. I believe very much in neuroplasticity and how our brains continue to adapt and evolve. And this is something that I've had to train myself around. Going out on your own, I didn't do it 2 years ago because I was too scared. And that's just the reality. And truly, the moment I realized this lifestyle was for me was when I measured my fears, my fear of failing or my fear of regret. And my fear of regret would have been, hey, in 10 years, I'm a partner at a financial company. I'm making good income. Life's kicking. Maybe I got a, whatever cool next thing. But I would have regretted not having chased this vision I see, this dream I'm on. And eventually you just get to a point where it's like, hey, I failed before. I'm going to fail again. Like I'd launched a public speaking business in the midst of a global shutdown. You got to believe like the business is not doing aces right now. but I don't let it, because I see myself as a great failure, I'm able to take these punches in the gut, and it is part of that lifestyle. You have to learn that those don't defeat you. You do not get defeated by getting knocked down. You get defeated by choosing not to get back up. And that's the mindset I have to approach everything with. And, you know, in an entrepreneurial journey, man, read any book on somebody who built something great, something like Nike, Shoe Dog. Oh man, Nike's great. Nike must have been an easy concept. That sucker, man, he almost lost everything like 8 times. So you got to have that grit, and you got to have that lifestyle choice of, again, I'm taking the risk of opportunity beyond my current resources. And that's immediately the odds are stacked against you. I compare it to football. I was an undrafted free agent, meaning I was competing against at least 7 guys who went in rounds before me and had odds more in their favor. That's the entrepreneur. You are stacked against, and you are competing against the biggest and best brands in the world.
Yeah, that's very well said. And like you said, there's nothing like being a true entrepreneur than really just getting back up and doing it again. Because there's people like the owner of FedEx. He almost went bankrupt too during a hardship that he had, and he gambled the last of the business money actually at a casino, and ended up creating the rest of FedEx, and that's why it's still alive today. Or someone like the creator of what are they called? GoPros. He started by selling necklaces from Bali, and then he made $10,000 off of selling those necklaces, and then started his crazy idea and put all his money into that. And he lived out of his car, so it's pretty crazy. You really have to not be afraid of getting back up when you fail. And for me, it's a similar idea. I've realized in the last 4 years, as I finish up my college experience, that every opportunity that I hadn't taken in college, I regretted, and I didn't want to miss out on that dream, like you said. I wanted to I really want to pursue certain things, and for me right now, one of the things that I've always wanted to pursue is being able to advocate for people, and I felt that I was going to lose that coming near the end of my college journey, because I wasn't going to be able to advocate for people like I have in clubs in the past and in leadership positions that I participate in. So it's really awesome to hear that for you it's the same kind of idea. It's like, why miss out on that opportunity and really just chase that dream? And if you fail, you just try again. Because what's the worst you lose? If you started at 0, the worst you can go back to is 0, right?
Yeah. Well, you could definitely go below 0. So don't do that.
Financially, you could, yeah.
But one thing I want to, and it's not a correction, it's just a designation. You said, you got to like remove or not fear failing, or not fearing getting back up. I'll be the first to say it's not that you're not going to fear it. Courage, grit is not the absence of fear. Courage is seeing and staring fear in the face and still going. So don't think like, hey, if I'm choosing the entrepreneurial life, like those cats don't ever fear. They don't have waves of negative or scared. Man, it's the entrepreneurial journey is a wave crashing every day from the positive and the negative. So it's definitely, the fear is still there. You face it.
Definitely. And it's all about perspective, I find as well. I know a quote, it just came to my head as you were bringing that up, Aaron, actually. Is by a philosopher called Jim Rohn. And he said, everybody is kind of very fearful of the fear of trying in terms of like entrepreneurship, right? So everybody's fear of, oh, that might not work. It might not turn out. It might not be what I want it to be. And then he just backed it up with, wait until they hand you the bill for not trying. And it spoke a huge amount of words to me, just those few words. It's just huge perspective on things. People can be very fearful of trying and shooting for something that they really have in their heart, and like you said, fear is very present there, but actually when you gain perspective of the bigger picture of things, then it can become a lot more comforting, I find, as well. But I wanted to kind of shift gear and change into a different area now. And I just wanted to go a little bit more into your background, Jedidiah, and get people to learn more about that and how you got to where you are. You've kind of explained how the NFL experience brought you to where you are in terms of financial stuff now, but what about before that, and what was your life like before, and what were some key influences and people that have been in your life and really encouraged you on the journey that you're on?
Well, it's a great question. So I'm a Southern California kid at heart. I'm the fourth of five children, and that in and of itself, if you ever want to just Google something curious, it's birth orders, man. Birth orders tell you so much about who you are and your makeup. It's kind of scary. So much of who we think we are is so predetermined. But growing up, we were a basketball family. That's actually where my grit really began. We'd play, my brothers and I, who are a year and 2 years older than me, we'd play basketball one-on-one in the backyard. And my dad invented this game called King for a Day. And in King for a Day, the winner, the brothers, got to boss the other two around, go take out the trash, go get me a drink, all that kind of stuff. And I remember very vividly of the hundreds and hundreds of times we played, winning twice. And so early on, like that message to me really taught me a few things. And today I define it as controlling my APE. And it meant I knew I could always control my attitude, the A. I knew my mindset and everything in that regards was something that was in my control. My preparation, what was I doing before to get ready? What could I be doing better? And then my effort. And so as I looked at those measurables, those things I could start to control, that was adopted and really learned through my childhood. And I took it into, sports. I took it into my schooling. I took it into my social life. I would say one of the pivotal changes for me as a young man was in high school. I went to Mission Viejo, and my high school record ended up being 41-1. And I went 41-0 and actually ended up losing my very last game as a football player. But what that did for me at such a pivotal time in my life is it taught me what winning was. It taught me the feeling. It taught me to identify myself as somebody who could and would win. And the ability to stand on a sporting event, mine was a football field, basketball court, tennis court, I don't care what it is, and believe and know you're going to walk off winning. That mindset, that confidence, that swagger, that is a trait I wish more people would get to taste and experience. It's not greatness. Don't get me wrong. It's not greatness. That's a different animal in and of itself. But the confidence and the belief in yourself, your abilities, your team, that was a defining character trait for me as a high school student. And then I went to Washington State. I got humbled a little bit. We didn't win all the time. We didn't win much at all. So you learn to lose too. But I would say growing up, that was one of the things I remember was King for the Day. And the idea that my mom taught me love and my dad taught me discipline and work ethic. And I have found in my careers as a football player, my career as a wealth management, my career as a writer, I can simply beat most people by my effort, by outworking them. And that is not something you want to lean on because you only have so many hours in the day, but it is a lesson and a principle that a lot of people have to understand is that effort part takes zero talent, and it is something 100% in your control to just make sure you show up every day and go and give it a good run.
Mm, amazing. And what would you say? So you said your parents were definitely big influences in your life. Your mum taught you love, your dad taught you discipline, but was there anybody else, perhaps in your NFL career, in your high school career, that really had an impact on you as well?
Oh yeah, endless people. So I'm a big believer of mentorship. One of my first was my high school football coach who sat me down at 6'1", 225 pounds and said, "Where the heck do you think you're going for basketball? Go get out on the football field." I was like, all right, that's a wise man. Um, but when I got to experience and be around the NFL, I got to be around, Washington State legend, but a Saints legend, and now a human legend in Steve Gleason, who is fighting the ALS battle, but has literally changed the world without being able to move anything but his eyes. And you sit and you talk to somebody like that, and really see the depths of the human spirit and get to have philosophical conversations with somebody who knows they're literally dying. That is a mentorship that I can never replace. But then there's a guy like Drew Brees, who I got to work next to for 4 years. And Drew was such an influence on every person in that building, not by an outwardly he's going around and doing or saying anything, just by him being. I got to experience, I was arm's reach from greatness, and nobody can discredit that, because anybody who has been around him appreciates his impact, not only on himself, on the team, on the football aspect, but he is twice the man and 10 times the leader he is a football player. A guy who studies John Wooden's pyramid, a guy who studies philosophical Aristotle. He quotes two guys on the team: "You are what you repeatedly do." Drew is the most habitual person I've ever been around. And I took a lot of his routines and started to implement them into how I handled money. But it was such an experience of mentorship. And he wasn't even my mentor. I just got to witness and observe. And that's what I would challenge more people to do. You have mentors all around you. I would challenge you to ask them for a cup of coffee, ask them why they do what they do, how did they achieve, or what you should be working on. But more importantly, just observe people, observe relationships, observe conversations, observe how others are emotionally responding. You can see that in a conversation. Maybe the two people in the conversation cannot see it. So mentorship is major. And I am the first to admit, any success I've had, I've stolen from everybody I've been around.
And I completely can vouch for that as well with my experience. I myself, I was afraid of mentorship my freshman year, any time before my sophomore year of college, really. I was afraid of asking people for help, afraid of really just starting a conversation with individuals, especially when they were older. And something clicked sophomore year after I actually pledged for a business fraternity. It wasn't really a fraternity at all, Alpha Kappa Psi, but it was a professional pledging. We did a whole bunch of interviewing and a whole bunch of just networking and professional skill development as part of the pledging process. And after that process, I came to the realization that there was no need to be afraid of people, and there was no need to really feel that you can do it all yourself. The reason that business is successful and the people that are the most successful are those that really use their network and really reach out for that help when they need it. Because people in the broader picture, if you have a good, I guess, surrounding of people, you become very you become very adaptable to any situation, and people are wanting to help you. So if you simply ask for something, you're going to get it and you're going to receive. And as long as you're always giving back when people ask you for something, then you become very successful. And I can vouch for them from my own experiences that teachers, friends, any peers that I have worked with in the past during my college experience and even my internships, I realized that people are just out there to help you, and they're there to guide you and really push you to be successful with them.
So one, I got to throw this out because there's a book called The Go Giver, and it was very similar to that mindset you were talking about. Instead of the go getter, the go giver. It's excellent read, very short, easily digestible. But a quote I've heard that I would, and it actually might be Jim Rohn, so I don't know, but he said, "You are the average of the 5 people you spend the most
No
time with."
way.
Yep.
It
Yep.
is,
No
right?
way. I was literally just about to say that quote. I was going to say it. No way.
Brilliant
That's
minds,
brilliant.
brother. Yeah.
There we
But
go.
I mean, that's something to really, and that's something I tell professional athletes all the time, is like, listen, I know who we want to have around, but you're CEO now. It's your responsibility to start making decisions like the boss. Is this who you're going to surround yourself with?
Absolutely.
I was just gonna say another book that actually talks about that same thing about being the closest people around you and you are what your network is The Wisdom of Finance. If you've ever read that, but it compares your whole life to just everyone around you is what creates you and your return on yourself and your own investments on yourself. So I thought that's a very fascinating thing, that there's so many books that reiterate that in whatever aspect, whether it's financial growth or personal growth, it's always like that.
There's something there.
Absolutely. Well, two book recommendations in this episode today. Then we'll have to put them in the description for people.
And we haven't even got to your money vehicle.
I know. I was just about to jump on that actually. But my last question for you, kind of on your background, was and it came from just when you were talking. Then is you seem to have a great, and it's fascinating for me to see, is you have a great appreciation for not only what, like, visually to the rest of the world that the people were doing around you, particularly the NFL or whatever, but you had a great appreciation for the other 75% that people don't see, or that not necessarily your average individual would see anyway. You strike me as a very self-aware, very kind of mindful person. But is this something that has developed kind of since that point, or were you aware of those things at the time? Were you looking at these individuals and seeing all of that at the time, or was this something that you've grown and developed in hindsight of that?
So I'm fortunate, and I attribute that entire mindset. Again, it's a growth mindset that I've learned through journaling, and journaling is one of those practices that people make fun of when you're young, and when you're old, you wish you had. And it's an amazing skill set to sit. Not every day, maybe it's every day, not long, whatever it is. Just jot down what you're going through. Jot down your feelings, your emotions, the wins, the losses, and why I get to tell these stories, why I get to remember these things was because I wrote them down. I have journals upon journals from my NFL journey, and I have journals upon journals from outside the NFL. And it's not only getting to see myself grow, but it's getting to see and steal from, man, I walked by this today and I saw that. That is something that's going to end up paying dividends down the road for me. So one, I appreciate you pointing that out. It is something that I take pride in, is being kind of an observer, and I love being curious. I like asking the questions, but I would recommend, and you don't have to tell your friends you're doing it because a lot of people get shy about it, but start a journal, and don't overthink it. Get a blank piece of paper, write the first thing that comes to your mind, and then come back tomorrow and do the same. And if you need help with what to write, there are tons of 5-minute journal, bullet journals. There's a bunch of strategies out there that can help you, but it's kind of like social media. If you start social media today, you wish you had started it 5 years ago. If you wait 5 years to start social media, you're going to wish you had started it today. Journaling is no different. Start documenting your life and start seeing the wins and start seeing and growing from the losses.
It forces a lot of reflection. Actually, it's funny you say that because I just started journaling again. I stopped journaling for a few years. I had started freshman year and I did it for a year and a half, then quit. And right now, I realized that one of the things, I actually talked about it in a previous episode, that one of the things that I was having a difficulty with was really reflecting on myself and being able to start a structure to my life as I got near the end of graduating. And I started journaling again, and I can tell you it's really actually helped me just reflect my day to day, even really think about things that I wouldn't have otherwise thought about the day, and really analyze them and be like, oh, why did I do that, or what's making me unhappy today, or what's causing this throughout the day, and it just really brings your brain to reflect on the present and what just happened, or what just happened in the last 24 hours, and it helps you grow, like you said. So that's funny that I just started doing that again, and honestly, it's a big difference in your life. So I recommend that you journal as well.
If you want to improve your emotional intelligence, there's no better trick.
Certainly, and I think we can all advocate that. I journal as well. I've journaled for, I would say, about a year or so now. And I'm not a regular journaler. I'm not every day. I'm a weekly kind of journaler, and that works for me. And I like how you say that as well. That you got to find something that works for you.
Yep.
In these rituals, in these habits, because you don't want to be doing stuff that you think is right but makes you unhappy because of the way in which you're doing it. Definitely not. So yeah, I can certainly advocate the journaling as well. It just helps to get things on down on paper, and you don't have to look at it again, but you can always come back and refer to it if you need to. Definitely something to take away there. But now we've kind of gone over your background. let's move on to where you are now in your journey, and what you're really driving towards at the moment. And let's start with the book. Let's start with your money vehicle, and kind of what's your message behind that, and what's your future plans with it.
So I would say on my entrepreneurial journey, I am on the precipice, or the pivotal part of my vision. The book was a massive step, but the book was still not the vision. The book is a summation of the first 10 questions people should ask on their financial journey. I went and scoured. I've been reading personal finance books for 10, 12 years, and none of them kind of encompass all the facets of money. Most of them are 85% about investments and about how to beat the stock market. And it's been proven time and time again, you're not going to beat the stock market over time repeatedly. A lot of people can get some big wins in day trading and yada, yada, yada. And I don't want to discredit, if you're doing that, keep studying it. But the thought that you know more than a building of experts in New York, it just never computed to me. So I looked at it and I said, listen, I'm starting out in money. I don't need to know, whatever ratios to value a stock market. I do need to understand the stock market, and in your money vehicle, that is one of the 10 chapters. But what are the other ones? Well, obviously, we got to go with goal setting. We got to go through what money costs and interest. We got to go through cash management. We got to go through banking, your first partner. We got to understand credit cards. We got to understand investments. We got to understand insurance, taxes, cybersecurity, vehicles. And so the idea for me was, if I was going to start somebody on one solid piece of advice in 10 categories of money as a CFP, as a wealth manager, what would that one be? And I went out and I started teaching courses over and over and over, and I was building stories, analogies, tricks, and tips to not just have it be the traditional financial education. I wanted to entertain a little bit. I wanted to engage some. And so the book came out, and it's very intentionally titled Your Money Vehicle. Your, because you have to own it. This is not mine. This is not Rio. This is not Aaron. Like this is your vehicle. And the idea of money vehicle was very intentional, because so often we see money as the noun, money is the destination. I want $1 million. Well, no, you want $1 million because of the lifestyle you think it reflects. So money is the vehicle to get you there. Money is not the destination. And that is really interesting perspective shift to see the new world of finances through. And so chapter 1, why we did declare it chapter 1, is the first question is, why do I even care? Why do I care about money today? And it's the idea that we have gone from my analogy of the train industry to the personal automobile. The train industry was Social Security and this idea of pensions. Pensions were lifetime income sources from a company. Those are gone, but those are what most of our parents and their parents retired on. And so this idea of pensions and retirement has to be washed away. And we usher in the personal automobile, which gave us a lot more autonomy than a train. And it allowed us to determine where we were going. The train industry, predetermined destination, you get on and you go. The personal automobile is 401ks, IRAs, brokerage accounts, Roth accounts, all these different vehicles. We have to sit in the driver's seat of those money vehicles and start to steer and direct. And so that is what was really exciting for me, was I saw this wave coming of a new financial awakening. And I said, man, there is so much stacked against so many people in our country and our world. Why can't we give them some of the secrets of the wealthy? And so that's kind of what we tried to do with Your Money Vehicle.
Certainly. And Aaron, just before you jump in on that, I just wanted to make a comment on that, is that really appeals to me as well, is because I hear a lot of people my generation is, and it's interesting, it's not necessarily in a financial sense, but it's in that lifestyle sense, is that they really want to be in control of that they want to be in their personal automobile, right? They don't want to be on that train. And that's a big drive for a lot of our younger generation. So actually, you coming along and saying, hey, look, money is not the answer to that, but it's a vehicle in which you can achieve that. That's awesome. I find that really, really kind of inspiring. But also, I was just going to ask a question on that. Who is your primary audience, not only for the book, but for what you're doing then?
So I would say anybody trying to begin their financial journey. My father wants me to call it young capitalists. Capitalism has an interesting connotation, so I've kind of stayed away from that. But that's truly what it is. And in chapter 6, we talk about capitalism and how we're all playing in a capitalistic society. But I look at this and I say, if I was going to go for a general audience, it would be young professionals, young 20-year-olds. And I got to go younger than 20 because a lot of people at 18 go and get their first job and start making paychecks, and they need to understand how to use money. And one of my acronyms is use. So what your money vehicle is intended to do is get you to understand it, S, strategize, and E, be efficient with money. If you are truly using money, those 3 things are in your curriculum. So I look at my ideal audience, and it would be anybody who wants to better use their money. And I don't like putting out guarantees, but if you're not a CFP, you're going to learn something in this book. I guarantee it.
Awesome. And Aaron, did you want to jump in on that and say anything?
No, you actually said that perfectly. It took the words right out of my mouth. So, yeah.
Excellent. Okay then. And the next question I had on it is do you have kind of plans for it in the future in terms of what it's going to be, what it's going to morph into? Is there anything else that you're doing moving forward?
Absolutely. So I love playing the long game. Where is this going to be in 3 to 5 years? So this summer, 2020, my online course will come out, and that is going to be the Your Money Vehicle online course. We're going to call it Driving Your Money Vehicle. And it is going to be a certifiable course, something that you go through and you get level 1 financially literate. And that is the real vision coming to life. Something I've seen over the last 5 years is the shift to video content. And I've been practicing it the last 2 or 3 years on social media, trying to better and better get, understand how to communicate. Because why financial education has failed in the past is, number 1, it doesn't create behavioral change. Your Money Vehicle, each chapter has its own set of actions to go take. So you're not just reading about your own financial journey, you are being told exactly what to go to build out your financial journey. But the reason it hasn't scaled or isn't in every high school or college in the country is because nobody's been able to portray the message through the video screen. I think you guys will be some of the first to see. I do my best attempt at not just portraying the message, which I can put on a video, a camera, and talk about money, but I try to tell these stories. I have about 8 or 9 characters throughout the book. I test my, acting chops, but I know, as you both know, if a class, if a teacher, if anything is more entertaining, it makes you smile, you're more likely to come back tomorrow. Am I funny? No. Am I an actor? No. But you're going to at least see I attempt to make this an enjoyable experience. And I really, really hope you and your audience are the ones who sit and at least appreciate it. I don't know what's going to make a 20-year-old laugh today, but I know what is going to be well received is, man, this guy is teaching me some good stuff, and he's at least trying. And that's really all I can do.
That's all we can all do, right? And
that's all we can all do. You're
And
absolutely right.
sometimes the trying is funnier than the actually being funny.
Exactly right. And we can, both me and Aaron can advocate kind of Jedidiah's relatability. That's something that we had instantly when we had a conversation with him, but then also we've both started the Your Money Vehicle book. And so we can tell you that in that book, he has certainly achieved that for us and for what we consider to be relatable. So definitely, and I think for me, Jedidiah, that's one of the things that I enjoy about you the most is that you're very genuine. You obviously have a clear set of goals in what you're trying to achieve, but you're relatable on that journey to achieve them, and you're ensuring people can benefit from it along the way. And I think that's very admirable, and I think that's what I take from you as a kind of big inspiration in that sense. And And then on kind of on that same kind of thing, is when you talk about wealth and wealth management, is that you very much talk about it to be more than money, which is what I really enjoy. And so, I think, I'm sure you're going to say yes to this, but is that the case? And if so, what are some key things to wealth that you associate that kind of wealth to mean?
So one of the designations I love to make is the difference between rich and wealthy. Rich means you have money today. Wealthy means you don't have to worry about money tomorrow. And there is a big designation there, especially professional athletes, whoever it is, Amazonians who are getting these big checks. They are rich. Have they become wealthy yet? No. And that's the difference between cash flow and net worth. But this idea that wealth must become holistic is the same identification that money is more than investments. Your wealth is peace of mind. And again, that is the vehicle of money. Money is supposed to bring you security. It's supposed to bring you peace of mind. It's supposed to bring you fulfillment. And some people say, well, money shouldn't fulfill you. If you use money the way you intend it to be used, if you want to impact a city, a person, a cause, that is fulfilling. That is more fulfilling than anything. One of the subjects we discuss in the book, and we talk about even more in later chapters, is the money bucket system, where you have 5 choices with every dollar you make. The 5th and final choice turns out from science to be the happy bucket. And that is the compassion choice. That is the one where you give to something more than yourself. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to do that until I have more money. That is a limited mindset. That's a scarcity mindset. If you have that abundance mindset and you see money as something that is going to bring you fulfillment, bring you wealth and that peace of mind, you are going to enjoy sharing that. And so that is where a lot of these dots start to connect, is that idea that wealth is absolutely more than a number in the bank, because some people are wealthy and extremely unhappy. But if you look at money and say it is going to be fulfilling as well as wealthy, then you have a different list of prioritization.
Yeah, and I agree with that, and I actually think that for me personally, one of the things I value the most in someone is someone that looks for a wholesome wealth, whether it's wealth outside of just money, like you say, it's wealth that uh, it's like a wholesome personality kind of thing. Like wealthy in money, but you're also wealthy in knowledge and experience and understanding, and beyond what money drives. And in fact, that's true to the general populations. There's been studies out there that show that on average, after Americans break $78,000 a year, they no longer can directly buy happiness and fulfillment from money. That after that, it becomes up to them and the wealth they create beyond the money, the beyond having control of their day-to-day bills, and that's very significant in my opinion.
That's very significant. And that study used to be about 55,000. And so if you look at it just from that, that introduces you to inflation
Yeah.
and a whole lot of other things. But that is a brilliant designation. People who think, hey, I'm making 100 grand. I think when I get to 200 grand, I'm going to be happy. No.
Definitely, definitely. And we'll begin to kind of wrap things up. But I wanted to, obviously, we're going to have links and stuff in the description for Your Money Vehicle and where you can find Jedidiah and everything. I would definitely recommend going and following him on his social media. He has some great content there as well. Um, but yeah, just summarize, where can they find you? Where can you find the Your Money Vehicle book? And yeah, and just let them know where they can find you.
Yeah. So I launched a financial literacy challenge, which was 30 days, 1 minute a day. You got a question and an action. You can download that entire challenge at yourmoneyvehicle.com/app, APP. What is unique about that is I don't deliver the content. I initiated 30 of my friends that played or are playing in the National Football League. And so each day is a new NFL player. yourmoneyvehicle.com/app. You go take that. It's a free 30-day challenge test and course. Why I introduce you it that way is because there is a little bit of humility that comes from understanding the content. And I want to show people that it is so achievable to learn this stuff. Just come, have a fun spirit about it, see where you land, maybe recognize some of the players, and really start to get into this mindset of, I want to learn and start to own and control my financial future. I love connecting. So by all means, like you mentioned, Instagram, Twitter, Jed Collins 45. I'm also on TikTok, Jed Collins 45. I got to be honest, I have not found as much traction on TikTok, but we'll see how that game plays out. But what I really am excited about is this transition to the online virtual courses. I think that is something that everybody is going to find, at least more accessible. I really, really and humbly appreciate what you said about being genuine. This is a passion of mine, and this is an industry that has not really been a path or a road very much traveled to leave the idea of success in the financial industry, which is go get a big, portfolio and work at a big firm, to go and try to make it about the non-wealthy. That's why I left wealth management, is I want to help people who are not wealthy try to get wealthy. So by all means, connect with me, send me. Jedidiahcollins.com is my website. You can go there, check out a bunch of different things. But I push out articles on LinkedIn, on any platform. So just, as I said to the both of you before we started, feedback is everything. My mission is to empower you. And by you, it's Rio, it's Aaron, it's your audience. I want to empower young people. I'm, 10 years older than you guys, but the idea that you are our future, I am the future. I think this is a subject we can start to close the gap on. And we're going to do it through education, but more importantly, we're going to do it through actions. And that's why Your Money Vehicle is so specific about what to go do.
And we'll have links to both the books we mentioned earlier and Your Money Vehicle, as well as any other information that we might need to put. And you heard, it'll be down in the description.
Yeah, certainly. And as we go through our journey of reading Your Money Vehicle, I'm sure we're going to be kind of putting some stuff out on our website as well, on how we're finding it, and the all the great information that's inside it. So you'll definitely hear more of Jedidiah on this channel, because I think we here really appreciate what he's doing, and like you just reiterated and what I said before, the genuine meaning behind it, and the mission that he's really on. So yeah, it's absolutely awesome. The final thing I want to finish on, Jedidiah, is a final message of either action or final message of advice to our audience that you're going to give.
I would say my final piece of advice is a lesson and a principle I learned from training next to a 15-year veteran. He would go out on the practice field and we'd run 40 yards, he'd run 45. We'd run 50, he'd run 55. Go in the weight room. We'd do a set of 10 at 225. He'd slide on 2.5s and do a set at 11. And I finally asked him, again, I'm a curious cat. I said, listen, bro, 5 pounds, what is that going to prove? Like, what are you doing? And he said, the only reason I get to come in here, if you look around, everybody in here is younger, cheaper, faster than me. The only reason I'm still here after 15 years is because I come in and I steal this. And he held up his fingers and he said, I steal inches, because an inch can lead to a yard to a first down to a touchdown to a win, and a win to the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl. That's why I come in every day, is because I want to go to the Super Bowl. And it's that mindset. A lot of people approach money and say, I want to become a millionaire. That's not how you're going to get there. You're going to get there. Money is a game of inches. Find little decisions, little choices, little efficiencies around your plan. And I guarantee you will inch by inch go in the right direction. And soon those inches will turn to yards, first downs, touchdowns, and you will start to get your wins. So I leave you with that idea and the principle of inches. Find and where you can steal an inch every day, because they're out there. You're just not looking.
So great piece to end on. And again, we really appreciate you coming on, and we look forward to working with you again in the future.
Yeah, thank
Gentlemen,
you. Thank you so much.
It was a pleasure. Enjoy the night.
We're going to end as we always do.
Cheers for now.
As always, head over to the Instagram and Facebook at Gen Z Journey, where you can get an inside scoop of what's going on behind the scenes, as well as seeing the exciting guests that are coming on for that week. But above all else, thanks so much for listening. We really appreciate all your participation, and we're excited you're on this journey with us. See you next time.